All right, here we are, Monday, the Green Neighborhood. The Green Neighborhood Initiative. First, we must start out with the disclaimer. Disclaimer being that welcome to the Green Neighborhood Initiative. My name is Eric. I'm the producer of the show. The things you will hear over the next link 60 minutes of the show, thereabouts, represent the views of the Green Neighborhood and the people making them. All opinions and quotations in no way represent River West Neighborhood and are the sole responsibility of the producers, guests, and callers. River West Radio is not liable for any legal issues arising from the content of this program. And once again, this program is dedicated to the one I love, the mighty Aminata. We're enjoying some hot temperatures here, and it's interesting to consider how we can keep ourselves cool, keep our homes cool by lowering the shades, letting the windows open, getting some circulation in the house, and this can help us stay cool. So, notes on bottled water. The bottled water industry, led by Nestle, Coca Cola, and Pepsi Cola, is aggressively promoting bottled water. In the U.S., more than 30 billion plastic water bottles end up as garbage or litter each year. Most don't get recycled. The bottles take up to 1,000 years to decompose and contribute to the vast vortex of plastic waste in the Pacific Ocean, which is harming wildlife. The withdrawal of large quantities of water from springs and aquifers for bottling has depleted household wells in rural areas, damaged wetlands, and degraded lakes. It takes 3 liters of water to produce 1 liter of bottled water. Consumers don't realize they are needlessly contributing to global warming, and there are alternatives. Let's learn about some facts regarding the bottled water product. In 2006, more than 900,000 tons of plastic was used to package 8 billion gallons of bottled water. More than 900,000 tons of plastic was used to package 8 billion gallons of bottled water. Production Production of this plastic leads to the release of a variety of chemicals. Most smaller bottles are made from polyethylene, which generates more than 100 times more toxic emissions than an equivalent amount of glass. In 2000, Consumer Reports found that 8 of the 10 5-gallon jugs we checked left residues of endocrine disruptor bisphenol A in the water. An expert of panel scientists have concluded that exposure to extremely low doses of bisphenol A is strongly linked to diseases such as breast cancer, prostate cancer, and diabetes and to reproductive and neurological development. Leaching chemicals into bottled water increases with heat and age, raising concerns about storage and transportation of the bottles. More research is needed on leaching of harmful chemicals from all types of bottles. No problems have been associated with refillable stainless steel or aluminum baked enamel line containers. Water quality. Bottled water is regulated by the FDA, which has weaker regulations than the EPA. Again, FDA is Federal Drug Administration, and the EPA is Environmental Protection Agency. Again, bottled water is regulated by the FDA, which has weaker regulations than the EPA for regulations for tap water. Bottled water sold within states is regulated only by state agencies. When NRDC tested more than 1,000 bottles, including 103 bottled water brands, they found contamination exceeding allowable limits in at least one sample from about one third of the brands, including arsenic, synthetic organics, and bacteria. In 2005, 28 billion bottles of water were sold. Mostly in PET containers. According to the Container Recycling Institute, in 2004, the last year for which data is available, 85% of all non-carbonated PET bottles ended up in landfills or as litter in parks and along roadways. That's 24 billion empty bottles, 66 million every day. The Pacific Institute estimates that production of bottled water for U.S. consumption in 2006 required the equivalent of more than 17 million barrels of oil, not including the energy used for transportation. This released over 2.5 million tons of carbon dioxide, a major global warming gas. More energy is used to transport the water to the bottling plant than transport the filled bottles to warehouses, stores, homes, and finally to landfills or recycling centers. The total amount of energy embedded in the use of bottled water is the equivalent of filling a plastic bottle 1/4 full of oil, according to the Pacific Institute. By contrast, municipal water requires only a little energy to pump the water through pipes to our homes. So just saying no to bottled water is a simple way to reduce our carbon footprint. The bottled water industry promotes bottled water as healthy, trendy drink without mentioning that it can cost 500 to 4,000 times more than tap water. All people should have access to affordable, clean drinking water. This means protecting water sources and adequate funding for upgrading municipal systems should be national priorities. If you are concerned about the quality or taste of your tap water, it is much cheaper to install a water filter on your tap to remove the pollutants than to depend on bottled water. Bottled water corporations treat water as a private commodity from which to profit by selling water at market price rather than as a human right that must be universally available at prices all people can afford. Having created a growing market for bottled water, Transnational corporations are exercising their power to secure access to springs, aquifers, and municipal water supplies to keep their profits flowing. Nestle has taken over many small independent companies, set up much larger corporations at local springs, and is aggressively pursuing new sites around the United States. Coke's, Dasani, and Pepsi's Aquafina brand depend on cheap municipal water in the United States. Coke's bottled water operation in India is embroiled in a controversy where a boycott Coke campaign was underway. Water is a public resource, not a commodity. We must ensure public policy sustains safe water supplies for the benefit of everyone in a natural environment. Access to clean, sufficient, and affordable drinking water is a human right necessary for human health and survival. This right must be protected by our government policies and international agencies consistent with ensuring access to safe and adequate quantities of water resources for all wildlife on the planet and sustainability of these resources. Well, what can we do? Number one, we can avoid using bottled water unless it's absolutely necessary. We can drink water from reusable metal or glass containers filled with tap water when we're traveling. At public events and at home, offer pitchers of water. We can ask our local municipality not to provide bottled water except in emergencies. We can talk to our favorite restaurants about not offering bottled water. Another thing that we can do to protect our water supply is be mindful of the chemicals that we put into our water system and our municipal sewer system. So by using eco-friendly, biodegradable household and personal care products, we are thereby placing a lower demand on the water system to filter it out for our reuse. What are some things that you can do to have a more comfortable home in the winter and summertime? Well, you can insulate and weatherize your home. Insulate your home, seal your air leaks, upgrade your heating system, and use energy-saving products. Installing water-saving faucet aerators and shower heads and light bulbs will reduce your energy needs. Replacing an old refrigerator or freezer with an Energy Star qualified model will also save you energy. Once these steps are taken, then you can begin considering using renewable energy on your property.
That's it. But with no tag on it saying, click here to listen live. If he had money, any money would be for you.
Now, there's also the Milwaukee Office of Environmental Sustainability, and they want Milwaukeeans to help the city develop a Milwaukee sustainability plan. And the plan asks the question, what is sustainability? Sustainability means meeting the needs of residents and businesses while smartly using and reusing our precious resources. Well, why now? The city has made 2012 the year we gather as a community to develop a sustainability plan that helps improve Milwaukee's quality of life, benefiting residents, businesses, and our natural environment. Well, why should someone care? Well, the Milwaukee Sustainability Plan is a roadmap guiding city government, residents, and businesses toward a more sustainable and healthier future by acting on ideas for improving Milwaukee provided by us all. Some things that are important to think about are how can we improve various aspects of our livelihood in a sustainable way. Another terrific program is the Healthy Child, Healthy Ward, Healthy Child, Healthy World program organization at www.healthychild.org. And they have information to discover 5 easy steps to a healthier and safer home.
This is my community service
One, manage pests safely. The EPA identifies exposure to common lawn care and indoor pesticides are as potentially causing a range of health problems. Rather than struggling to keep children from these harmful threats, you can simply make healthier choices in pest control. Choose non-toxic lawn and garden products for insecticides, pesticides, and weed killers. Remember to encourage good sanitation habits such as washing hands after being outdoors and taking shoes off at the door. Use non-toxic products, cleaners, body care, home furnishings. Today, many chemicals in conventional cleaning products, body care, and home furnishings contains a range of synthetic chemicals and preservatives that have been connected to health problems. Fortunately, you have a wide selection of healthier options for house cleaning tasks as well as natural body care and non-toxic home products. Remember to read the labels and ask a question. Use products labeled non-toxic, chlorine-free, phosphate-free, biodegradable, natural fragrance, paraben-free, hypoallergenic, vegetable bio-water-based, petroleum-free, organic, low or zero VOC, recycled or reclaimed, formaldehyde-free. Avoid using products that say poison, danger, warning, or caution.
contact us for specific, things like that. It could be anything. I mean, they could contribute. But then basically what we have to do is we have to get that.
Clean up indoor air. Did you know that people in the United States spend 90% of their time indoors? It might seem safer and cleaner, but the EPA says indoor air pollution is one of the nation's most pressing personal health concerns. Not to worry, it's easy to reduce the risk. As described above, start by replacing products that contribute to the problem, and then try some other simple solutions. Ventilate your home, especially the bedrooms and nurseries, by simply opening the windows. Change the filters in your air conditioning and heating units and the bag in your vacuum cleaner to greatly improve indoor air quality. Sanitize and cleanse air. Sanitize and cleanse air will help from indoor plants and air purifiers with approved HEPA filters. Look for low zero VOC paints and stains and avoid synthetic carpets when possible.
A lot of people too are hip to, like,
Eat healthy. Eat more organic and healthy foods. Organic foods are grown without potentially harmful long lasting synthetic chemicals. After extensive research, the EPA considers 60% of all herbicides, 90% of all fungicides, and 30% of all insecticides as contributors to potential health risks. What we can do is eat organic fruits and vegetables when available, make wise protein choices with meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, and milk products from animals raised on vegetarian feed without hormones or antibiotics. Avoid foods high in sugar, high in fat, or highly processed, as well as fast foods. Be wise with plastic. Plastic provides a good amount of affordable convenience. Only recently have we discovered that the hidden cost may be our health. Plastics in certain applications have the potential to negatively affect health. Replace vinyl chew toys made of soft plastic, especially any labeled V or the number 3.
problems that we solve, that's all it is. They're far from hopeless. No, no, no. Talk to you soon. You're always welcome.
Some other things to consider. One moment. Mike. More than 9 of every 10 suspected poisons occur at home with household products. There are 80,000, well, rather, 80,000 is the number of registered chemicals in household cleaning products, however, only a fraction of which have been tested for human health concerns. After a 15-year study, the Toronto Indoor Air Conference, women who worked at home have a 54% higher death rate from cancer than those who work away from home. The study concluded that this was a direct result of the increased exposure to toxic chemicals, many of which are found in common household products. So, in essence, what we want to bear in mind is that clean does not have a smell. Clean doesn't smell like lemon. Clean doesn't smell like pine saw. That's all Madison Avenue marketing for us. Once upon a time, clean was just clean before we got all these different super sophisticated tricks to condition us to buy things that aren't good for us. And as far as tap water is concerned, your tap water is probably going to be healthier for you than the water from your in bottled water. It has more tests that it has to go through in order to be serviceable to you. Now, from the book Seeing Green with Jonathan Porritt. In his book Seeing Green, Jonathan Porritt, under chapter 10, Green Economics, says that green economics is all about sustainability and social justice. Finding and sustaining such means of creating wealth as will allow us to meet the genuine needs of all people without damaging our fragile biosphere. This implies a straight choice between what we have now, a consumer economy, and what we will need in the near future, a conserver economy. It is no longer possible to manufacture abundance through making unsustainable demands on the world's resources and environment. We must therefore substitute more appropriate patterns of consumption that will make for wiser use of both the world's resources and the human resources at our disposal. The Green Party's booklet on employment, Working for a Future, looks forward to such an economy in these terms. In the long run, all nations will have to learn how to manage the demands of their people in a sustainable and a stable state economy. The characteristics of such an economy are clear: reduced industrial throughput, greater self reliance, and sustainability through largely decentralized economic activity, maximized use of renewable resources, and conservation of non renewable resources, a far reaching redistribution of wealth, land, and the means of production, with the possibility of more fulfilling, personally satisfying work, all set within a more cooperatively based framework and enhanced by the use of new technologies where they complement the above features. I like a quote by Jonathan Porritt in talking about greening the work ethic. Again, he talks about, well, in his book, he quotes Thomas Aquinas: there can be no joy of life without the joy of work. Greening the work ethic. It does not mean to have employment as a 9 to 5 drudgery job, a form of wage labor which has to be suffered as the only means of maintaining one's standard of living, and employment as the effective utilization of a person's skill and time, providing sufficient material reward to allow him to live or her to live in reasonable comfort. Green or good work, which creates sustainable wealth and which redistributes it comparatively in comparatively direct ways, is the cornerstone of a healthy economy. He goes on to say that ecologists' ideal definition of work is therefore that it should provide a reasonable standard of living, be personally satisfying, be environmentally sound, be socially useful, and be available to everyone who wants it. We also have to reduce the demand for the products that are being manufactured, which are decimating our planet. Why we have to help ourselves. Now, if the will was there, all the abuses with the environment would be gone. The legacy of consumption. Water and air pollution have made huge areas of the industrialized world unfit for forest or agriculture, as well as the visible pollution produced by smoke and waste. There is the potentially more dangerous invisible contamination caused by modern toxic chemicals. Let's look at some ways our environment is under attack. The global environment can be broken down into three main elements: land, water, and air. Through our daily activities, we manage to pollute it and contaminate all three different elements. If it continues, the damage caused by this may become irreversible. Pollution from energy production. The need for large supplies of energy generates pollution on a huge scale. Energy derived from fossil fuel contaminates the atmosphere, while nuclear power threatens air, water, and land. Industrial air pollution. The manufacture of many of the products we use in our homes, especially plastics, produces serious pollution as industrial chemicals are released into the atmosphere. Water pollution. Water is polluted both by industrial and by domestic users. Like air, water disperses contaminants so that they affect a wide area and reach places far from their point of origin. Polluting the soil. The burial of household and industrial waste pollutes the ground and also produces chemical runoff which may reach groundwater reservoirs that are used for public water supplies. Acid rain. This is relatively a new form of pollution. It is a byproduct of atmospheric contamination. The gases that are released into the air from cars, factories, and power stations react with atmospheric moisture to form rain, which is potentially lethal to trees. Transportation pollution. Fossil fuels provide the chief sources of energy for transportation. They are a major source of air pollution, one which over the last 2 decades has grown enormously. Agricultural chemicals. The food we eat is prepared from crops grown with the aid of a wide range of agricultural chemicals. These chemicals may end up in our food and in the water supply. Groundwater contamination. Much of the world's fresh water lies in natural reservoirs deep underground. These are slowly becoming contaminated by dissolved chemicals that are washed through the ground. But then there's the power of the purse. Even though as individuals we may not have immediate power, at least we have one piece of muscle that nobody can take away from us, and that's the power of the purse. There is an expression that says with considerable truth, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Perhaps we could reword it thus and still speak with truth. The hand that rules the purse strings rocks the world. Every one of us, if we have any money at all, can influence the course of history. If we buy things, the production of which or disposal of which causes pollution, then we ourselves are polluted and there is nothing else to be said about it. On the other hand, if we refuse to buy things that are contributing to the destruction of our planet, then we are refusing to also contribute unwittingly to that destruction. And when enough of us are all refusing to contribute in whatever small way, then the destruction itself will stop. Using the power of the purse needs some straight thinking to counteract the feeling that whatever we do, we cannot do right. It sometimes seems that nearly everything we buy is polluting. But there is something that we can do. There are four angles from which we can look at every action that is open to us. Is it affect First, is its effect good, bad, or neutral on our living planet? Second, if its effect is good, how can we encourage and extend it? Third, if its effect is bad, how can we do without it? Fourth, if we think we cannot do without it, then what action can we take to reduce or mitigate its damage? Then there's also the issue of bad housekeeping. Liability for pollution of our planet does not solely rest with the great industrial combines, which factories spew chemical waste into the air, onto the land, and into the rivers and into seas. There are also major contributors, but ultimately it is the householder who maintains the demand for their products and who therefore bears an equal responsibility for the pollution that threatens to ruin our planet. I like that a lot. Bad housekeeping. Liability for pollution of our planet does not solely rest with the great industrial combines whose factories spew chemical waste into the air and onto the land, into rivers, and into seas. These are all major contributors, but ultimately it is the householder who maintains the demand for their products and who therefore bears an equal responsibility for the pollution that threatens to ruin our planet. This goes quite well with the notion of the power of the purse, in that every one of us, if we have any money at all, can influence the environment. If we buy things, the production of which or the disposal of which causes pollution, then we ourselves are polluters, and there's nothing else to be said about it. On the other hand, if we refuse to buy things, just simply refuse to buy things that are contributing to the destruction of our planet, then we are refusing to also contribute unwittingly to that destruction. And when enough of us are all refusing to contribute in whatever small way, then the destruction itself will stop. Mobile pollution. Typically, the car is the most polluting possession that most people own. During its life, a car uses up valuable materials, contaminates the atmosphere, and finally, when dumped, disfigures the landscape. The thirst for energy. As supplies of fossil fuels continue to decline, houses still account for a large part of total energy consumption. Much of the energy used at home is wasted and serves little real purpose. Gardening with chemicals. Too many gardeners rely on chemicals to control what they see as pests, as well as contaminating water and food. These poisons have an injurious effect on harmless garden wildlife. Anything that destroys one form of life will damage another. The cleanliness obsession, the whiter than white philosophy promoted by commercial advertising, has led to an excessive use of detergents, bleaches, and other household chemicals. This has damaging results for the water quality of streams, lakes, and rivers. The processed diet. Buying processed food passes the control of its content over to big businesses. What the giant food companies put into food is rarely as healthy or nutritious as it should be because their priority is to maximize profit per quarter, profit per product unit sold. The household dispensary. Far too many medicines are manufactured with far too little effect. In many cases, the stress of modern living is the cause of ill health. Stepping up the consumption of medicines is no cure for such self inflicted problems. Chemical hazards in the home. Modern houses are made and furnished with materials that are as of yet untested by time. The fumes from plastics, paints, and preservatives are a constant hidden hazard in the indoor atmosphere. Household garbage. Most people throw away many times their own weight in garbage every year. This represents a huge waste of resources. Mixed garbage is very difficult to recycle, and valuable land is swamped by mountains of unusable waste. Wasted water. Water is not a substance in unlimited supply, but most people treat it as if it were. As well as being overused, household water is polluted by innumerable domestic chemicals. Well, let's take some positive action. Let's say 4-point plan for improving the environment. Assess the consequences. Number one, most everyday activities have some effect on the environment. Either they improve it or make it deteriorate. A few leave it unchanged. Deciding which category any action falls into is an essential part of conserving the environment. Encourage positive changes. If something enhances the environment, it should be recommended to others wherever possible. Individual action is only successful if enough individuals pursue it. I really like number two. Encourage positive changes. Again, if something enhances the environment, it should be recommended to others wherever possible. Individual action is only successful if enough individuals pursue it. Number three, avoid causing damage. Many actions like throwing away excessive amounts of garbage, wasting water, or using pesticides fall into the category of avoiding damage to the environment. In nearly all cases, this kind of damage can be prevented without any noticeable change in the quality of life. Cut down what cannot be cut out. Some actions like driving a car are almost impossible to avoid. In these cases, the best approach is to take steps to reduce the damage. The 6 principles for good housekeeping include 1. Assuming responsibility. 2. Keeping things local. 3. Keeping things simple. 4. Spreading the options. 5. Live non-violently. And 6. Live moderately. Let's go over these 6 principles again. These are 6 principles for guidelines to help minimize the impact that your day-to-day life has on the environment. They're not a set of rules, but rather a checklist to help you decide what causes pollution and what prevents it. Assuming responsibility for yourself is an understanding of the effects of daily living is essential in preventing damage to the environment. This is the principle of responsibility that everyone should find out about the effects that he or she has on the outside world. Keeping things local. Energy consumption, pollution, and the use of chemicals are all increased when the supply of a daily commodity like food is far removed from the point of consumption. The principle of localism is that local products should be given preference to ones further afield. Keeping things simple. Increasing complexity brings with it increasing waste, energy use, and pollution. The principle of simplicity is that something simple should be preferred to something unnecessarily complex. Avoid specialization. Environment conscious living avoids specialization. The principle of multiplicity is that it is safer, less wasteful, and less polluting to maintain a variety wherever possible. Avoiding violence. Physical and chemical violence to the natural world inevitably rebound on all of us. The principle of nonviolence requires that all actions that treat land or animals violently should be avoided. Be moderate. Excessive consumption creates many of the problems facing the environment. The principle of moderation maintains that our consumption should not exceed real requirements. Here's some more positive action steps. How to reduce the use of biocides. Buy organically grown food. Buy fresh produce. Ban biocides at home. Some answers to car pollution. Cycle to work. Use cars for long distances only. Press recycling facilities. Get your buses to have bike racks on them and carpool. All right, this is Eric for the Green Neighborhood. We're going to be signing out in a little bit, and we'll be seeing you next week on Monday between 5 and 6. The blueprint, the blueprint in action. Sustainable living on the land. Well, have crop rotation, have organic farming, animals outdoors, recycling organic waste, using sustainable timber, nitrate-free water, dual water system, collecting and conserving energy, growing your own food, keeping the ground fertile. In the city, it would be involving recycling waste, non-polluting transportation, renewable energy wherever possible. This is Blueprint for a Green Planet.